and an epidemiologist. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
So I think a lot of people are asking one very simple question. What the heck is monkeypox?
It's a virus. It's similar to smallpox, which sounds scary, and in little ways it is. Similar to cowpox and camelpox, which are actual real things. And it's been with us for many decades, first identified in the 50s in Copenhagen, of all places, in a bunch of lab
Huh.
monkeys. Yeah, hence the name monkeypox. But it's actually mostly in some rodents in Africa. And up until recently, almost 100% of cases were in Central Africa. So that's why it's making the news.
Okay, now I know that there are always, and I mean, I don't mean to be too blanket here, but there are always different places around the world diseases that we never hear of, tropical disease, other things that are unique and weird but they're mysteries to us because we never get them mentioned. We are now hearing about monkeypox because we've had some cases in this country. How did they get here?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not the first time, by the way, that monkeypox has made its way out of Africa. Back in 2003, there was an outbreak in the USA of about, I think, 70 people, none of whom died, by the way, caused entirely by importation of animals, prairie dogs in this case. So most of the cases are caused by interactions with infected animals. They bite you, you lick their pustules for whatever reason. But it looks like the the current
I don't know who's licking animal pustules, but
hey,
okay, if you
it's
do that, you deserve to get sick probably. But anyway,
exactly.
carry on.
But right now we have a bunch of outbreaks simultaneously in multiple countries, suggesting that there is a route of transmission that's yet to be investigated, probably involving human to human contact. So to answer your question, why is it spreading? I don't know. It could be that there's an airborne component to it that's making its way onto airplanes and things like that. But that should not be terrifying to people because we control it the same way we control COVID. So in many ways, it's good news that is happening now while COVID restrictions are in place and public health is primed to put in place things like distancing and mask wearing because that works well against monkeypox.
And when you said off the top, it's kind of like smallpox. Well, there was a time when smallpox was considered like terrible, and probably if you get it now, it still is. But we are mostly inoculated against it, so we don't really worry about this. But anytime these days you say virus and you say human to human, and maybe you say airborne, immediately after what we've been through, we understand why. Immediately we go, "Am I going to get this now?" So, am I going to get this?
Maybe, but probably not. And here's why. First is that there is some immunity of smallpox still in the population. Most of us that are over a certain age were inoculated when we were kids, but the immunity for that has waned significantly. And the smallpox vaccine does work against monkeypox, about 85% efficient, but you need a booster to make it really work. So if it's been more than 3 years since you got smallpox vaccination, which is essentially everybody, then you probably are susceptible. Also, the way you get monkeypox is mostly through human to human contact, through the touching of open sores, the touching of shared objects like bed sheets that were in contact with open sores, and it looks like sexual contact also. So that is a little harder than sharing the same air for a few hours as you would in a like an elevator with COVID. Are you going to get it? Probably not because we're on top of this, and also because the transmissibility of monkeypox is less than that of COVID. So we all know about the reproduction number, right? The average number of new cases produced by an existing case. That's how we measure how contagious the disease is. Measles is like 18. Omicron, it's maybe 12 or 13 or something, which is pretty high. With monkeypox, it's probably two-ish, between 1 and 2. And smallpox, it was 3. So that still means it's experiencing exponential growth when it can, but not nearly as contagious as Omicron.
All right, so chances are you and I are not going to get it, but let's say we do. What happens to you if you get monkeypox?
Good news, we have treatments. First of all, that vaccine I talked about, the smallpox vaccine, which has been updated in 2019, I think, is also a treatment. If you get it within the first 4 days of exposure or infection, it can reduce the probability of getting symptoms. Also, there is an antiviral that's been vetted for poxes of all kinds, and I probably can't pronounce how it's said. It's tecovirimat. The USA has millions of doses in their strategic reserve, and Canada has some as well. So there are treatment options. And also, in most cases, the infection will resolve itself with no intervention in about a couple weeks. But a certain proportion of people do die of this. So there are two versions of monkeypox circulating. One serious, one not so. It's the not so serious one that seems to be the one making its way to North America and Europe, which is good news.
All right, and we do have the treatments, as you say, but just so we understand, if you didn't get the treatments, what would be the symptoms? How would you get sick? What would it look like if you were dealing with this?
So it's got an incubation period of a couple of weeks or so, and after that, a fever, followed by a rash. Those classic smallpox kinds of rashes that we see in the history books all the time, these circular, scabby things, mostly appearing in your face and extremities. And they will go away in 2 to 3 weeks by themselves, usually.
It is okay. So the good news is we're probably not going to have to worry too much about it. The bad news is, having just worried about COVID for 2 years, we probably will worry about it. But there, monkeypox. There it is. Now you know. Raywat Deonandan, associate professor at University of Ottawa. Really appreciate taking some time to explain it this morning. Thank you for this.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Let's go to the news here on